I'll get Craig in here.
Quit eating chips. Good.
So I'll be watching the interview chat, right? See what people talk.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
All right. Oh, my alt tag didn't work. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of XN Interviews. I'm your host, XN. Join me as always is JX. We've got a new co-host with us as well. Say hello to KB. How you doing, man?
Doing good, guys. How are y'all?
Good, man.
Good. We needed an extra co-host to deal with our extra big guest this evening. Please welcome Gabe Frizzera of What If Games. How you doing
Woohoo.
tonight, man?
Hi, I'm great. How are you guys?
Amazing.
I'm doing pretty good. Ready to get this thing going.
Yeah, let's
So
go.
all right. So what? Oh, sorry. What do you do at What If Studios?
A little bit of everything. Uh, Officially, we're very small. We're as small as it gets. We're considered indie studio. But even within indie studios, there's all kinds of sizes. So we're very small. So we have a bunch of people from that left Kabam, and I was very lucky to join with my team. Very talented people, and we all have our official areas of expertise, but we also wanted to have a team that had people that could transit between different disciplines of game development. So, at Kabam, I was a creative director, but I like to get my hands dirty and do different things. I used to do concept art for all the characters. I used to write scripts and try to carry the overall vision of the creator of the game. So in a way, I never stopped being indie in my head. I wanted to like get busy and make games. So that kind of carry over here. And for the people that I approached to join me, I wanted this kind of people too. That if you're an engineer, but you also know a little bit of design, you're a designer, you know a little bit of art, you know a little bit of so we can transit between each other's expertises and really talk about the games as one single experience. So in my case, I have a lot of things that I like to do, and I know how to do like 2D art, concept. I also, I have to, manage a company too as well, which is part of the job right now. So yeah, and everybody in the team kind of pitches in with everything that they interested in doing, and also are have good talent for it. So that's how it works with us.
Okay, very nice. Um, so moving from Kabam to your own studio, how does it feel to have your own?
It's daunting, definitely scary, but also very liberating. I was talking to someone about if I knew how much positivity and how much good vibes I would get from everywhere I talk to, I would probably have done that years ago. uh, Even from people that we started pitching. I left Kabam in October, and we started pitching almost immediately. Um, and the amount of positive feedback that we got was incredible, and things started moving so fast. Even we started talking to people that we didn't know we could even talk to, like publishers and big companies, and they all like were amazingly positive about the ideas. Of course there's layers and layers of different things to even make a game work, contracts and money for between having a great idea that people love and actually getting a check. It's a long way, as anybody that tried to finance a project can attest. It is slow, and you have to deal with people that really are not creatives or not gamers at all. They just are interested in the bottom line. So there's a lot of weird paths to navigate that is not what I'm used to do. But I think a lot of the passion that we transmit when we talk about the projects win a lot of people over, and people want to work with us, and that was very encouraging. But at the same time, we have an expiration date. Everybody is working together to build something, but we have bills to pay, we have families, etc., etc. So we set ourselves a deadline. If this works, we'll keep going. If it doesn't work, I know all my colleagues can get jobs tomorrow. They are super talented. So that's where we are right now. We just we have a few projects in this idea stages, and that we have this one that is the first one we want to make, which is Kinship. And yeah, we're just trying to find our path, and it's very early, but we're very encouraged by the response so far.
Very nice. I'm super excited.
Yeah, man. I think it's you and the team are so talented in creative storytelling. I mean, that's what hooked me on MCOC. So with you leaving MCOC and continuing that same storytelling, and for what I've seen from the press release, it really interests me. And I'm very excited for your first game, and if that continues into other projects, I am going to be here for it, 100%.
Oh, thanks, thank you. There's a big part of being an indie developer is that you need a strong community of people that are invested in what you're doing. Sometimes big companies have a lot of money to make marketing campaigns and get a lot of eyes on something. But sometimes there are a lot of casual eyes, right? They're not people that are really passionate about what you're doing. The people at the core of it that make any product, any game, any entertainment product to actually work. And to have you guys, being so enthusiastic about it and be willing to actually put the word out there, it means a lot. It means a lot, even more to us, that we can make this work. And among all the big sharks around there with the tiny fish, but we have good allies that can spread the word, and they'll be believed because they come from they understand the work and they understand what we're doing. So they're not just blowing hot air and just say, hey, this is great. And, so that's the true thing. That's as grassroots as it goes,
You built Kabam Vancouver. It was kind of before they assumed you guys. You were kind of like indie, right?
Before, yeah. When we started, it was 2010. We started a studio called Exploding Barrel, and it was just 6 of us. I was invited to join, and it was just a tiny room, and and it was very nice because everybody was there. We talked about the game all the time, and I wanted to go back to that. Everybody I know actually misses that time, misses being in the same room together, even if it's a virtual room. Everybody knows the product from upside down. Everybody can speak their minds, and that's the idea of every company sometimes is, oh yeah, the old Kabam logo. I see. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble with that, going through airports and stuff.
Oh.
People
Oh,
just ask me
no.
what do you do?
That's funny.
Before it was Exploding Barrel, and then became Kabam with a big bomb. So we wanted to go back to that, and every company goes through phases, and sometimes you're a victim of your own success.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's sometimes unavoidable. You get more people to work on something because you want it to grow. In a way, it's part of capitalism. They want infinite growth, right? They're like, oh, you have a million players. You want 10 million now. You want a billion, whatever it is. And there's no end to it. And sometimes you inject a lot of money, a lot of people come, and you dilute the original formula. And I think every company I've been through is kind of like that. Is the people that are originally in there, they start getting spread. they become the pillars of the company, but they're separated. Now they don't work with each other anymore. There's a lot of support team around it, lots of talented people, but the people that carry the torch don't talk to each other anymore, and it becomes a little more, it becomes something else, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I miss that. My friends miss that. So, you know, Kabam is amazing, and we're very well treated here, and we work in a game that a lot of people love. There's a lot going on. We're well paid. So why would we want to leave all of that? Is because of that feeling, and also because of what's that?
Did that experience of you guys already kind of doing it before back in 2010, did that give you that extra boost of confidence to just start What If? You guys just make that
Yeah,
leap?
yeah. You know, like even though at the time I was not the studio lead, far from it. But I saw all the phases of going through it, and I saw the hardships. We had to, you know, we tried to hire more people who couldn't. We had to make it smaller because the contracts wouldn't come. So for the next 3 months to be like nobody getting paid or whatever, you know. But I wouldn't exchange it for anything. You know, it's just so exhilarating, the possibilities and all the stuff that. And it's hard to hit something really special like we did with contest. But we knew like the right formula was there, the right people were there. Eventually we'll hit on something good. We didn't know how good and how big it was going to become, but you know, we knew it. The talent was there, and people were nice, generally nice, no like big egos, and so yeah, I knew it, and I want that again. And it just comes down to the people. It comes down to the right people that you handpick to be part of their formula. If you have a team of 5 or 6 people, if you have 1 or 2 that don't work, that's a big deal, you know. It's like having a car with 3 wheels. Sometimes there's cars with 3 wheels, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we get you. We get you. I think that's really cool. I think a lot of people kind of, when you announced you were leaving Kabam, were kind of like, well, what does this mean, you know? And like, to me, it made sense. Like, you wanting to recreate that small studio, that, you know, back in making that formula, you know, continuing it in somewhere else and starting, you know, I really like the idea of What If. Because you're taking, you know, you said from the beginning you want to kind of get back there, and it's kind of gotten to a place where you didn't feel that same way, I'm guessing. And so to make this new studio and to make games kind of your way is going to be really interesting. Is kind of like, oh, sorry, do you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I've seen of other studios. You know, you've kind of mentioned like you've seen it throughout the industry, and I for sure have seen, you know, other studios, especially I think with like Activision, kind of when they first started, you know, a lot of those original leads that made some of the most amazing games have kind of left, and they've either made their own or moved to other projects, and they kind of wish that they had stayed that small studio, you know, 15 years ago. So I think it's completely understandable like what you're doing, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's a very common story. You know, the big companies, you know, continue to be exciting, and the games continue to be good. But for some people, that's not the way they like to work. And I realized that I was spending too much time in things that I didn't want to do, like meetings or whatever, and less time actually developing the game. It's nobody's fault. It's just the way things start rolling, and you have to have a limit. I believe you have to have a limit for the size of teams. Once you start getting too disconnected from everybody else, but some people can do it. It just becomes a kind of different deal, but not for me, not for a lot of people that I was talking with. We always ask that question, what if, right? It's just like, it was a common question, like every time we had some beers, and we go like, oh man, I'm just so like, I'm so stressed, and what we gonna, like, what if we did a studio? What if we did that and that? It was never became reality, because somebody needs to take the first step. We are all game developers, we're not like, you know, entrepreneurs, and so it's kind of a weird world for us to start something new. That's why sometimes the people that start studios are not the developers, that like people that have the money or whatever. But the best studios are the studios that are people that are either crazy or courageous to
100%.
think that they can they can do it. Like, I know I can do it. Like, so let's go. For me, it was like, I don't know if I can do it, but like I sure will give it a great shot, because I'm very passionate about what I do. I put 100% on everything I do. It doesn't matter if it's for Kabam or some other companies that I work, EA but when you do it for yourself, you sure get a different boost from it. Even on a hard day, you think, oh, we're doing this for us. This is going to be ours, which is a very different feeling. So I think we're going to be all right if we can learn all of that.
Yeah.
All the other things that we don't know. Like, I've been learning a lot about how to run a small company, and I have my brother with me, Erico, and he is my business partner. He's much more in tune with that world, but at the same time very creative guy, and we get along really well. So we always thought about doing something together. And he's a lawyer, but it's like, I always ask, like, why did you become a lawyer? You're such a creative guy. You're like a nerd like me. And it's like, maybe because of the money. It's like, he makes a lot of good money. But we always talk about doing something together, and it was never the right time. And I started to realize that it was never going to be the right time if I don't make it. So if I was going to be the sacrificial lamb and go ahead, and so I try to be responsible about it, say, hey, how long I can do this without making any money? So I prepared myself for that. I took a month off at Kabam just to like get my ducks in a row, and said, yeah, I can do this for a certain time. And then I started talking to people. It's like, can you do this? Like, what is your situation? And there's people that are younger that can take more risk, because they can literally live off cup noodles for, like I did when I was 20. Yeah, but there's some other people that are more experienced, that have families, and I wouldn't ask those guys to like, hey, let's do this thing for free forever. So I made different deals with different people, and say, hey, like, how long you can give to this project, and then I'll give you a piece of the company, or I'll pay you this way or that way. And everybody came in believing in the same idea, and it's been great. Every meeting is just amazing, and people have amazing ideas. And but yeah, we do have an expiration date. If nothing happens like next year, of course people have to get jobs, and I know they'll get jobs in a day. They're all really talented and experienced. Me, I'm not so sure, because I'm kind of a weird creature. I've been these weird jobs that you cannot define what I do. Like, there's no, like, I cannot go and ask for a job of a creative director, which is what I did for 10 years, right? So I'm very invested in this working, because I don't know if I can do anything else other than this. Creating a universe and a company and a game, and from scratch. So yeah, I either sink or swim now.
Okay. So you talked about a little bit about what you've learned throughout the years. Is there anything that you've taken from Kabam, or like Contest of Champions or Realm of Champions, that you've learned that you have moved on from, or have taken an actual lesson from?
Oh yeah, so much. Like, Kabam was it's almost a lifetime for me, like 12 years since we started Exploding Barrel, and you see a lot of different phases or where a game can be, and a lot of phases of the industry. The mobile gaming thing, which at the beginning was something new, and we were one of the first ones to actually create that AAA mobile game, like a mobile game that has better visuals and stuff, because we came from console, so we're experimenting with this new thing. And then we saw the industry become this juggernaut of like so many people, so many companies getting into that space. But also, one of the things that we don't want to do that I've done for so long and is work in the free-to-play space. I'm sorry. I know you guys love gacha and love opening thousands of crystals, but but you know, like I have nothing against free to play as a business model, as it's proven that it makes a lot of money for a lot of people. Not me, but a lot of people. It's the standard for mobile, you know, and you cannot really compete in the open market with people that are offering games for free. You still can't, right? So the big companies will always invest on that. But we as developers, as people, thought that the whole thing about free-to-play monetization is interfering with the very development of a lot of games. You know, contest is not too bad. You know, you can actually play the game a lot without actually paying. If you want to get really good and compete, maybe not, but it's a lot of games won't give you 5 minutes before they start trying to teach you how to spend. And that's, I don't like that. I don't know what you guys think, but like, I like to be involved in a game before I decide that I want to pay any money. So that's one thing that we put in our philosophy. We have like 5 things that to guide us of what kind of games we want to make. And one of the things is that I've seen a lot of the free-to-play thing, and it became a science. You know, Kabam and other companies have like data scientists. They measure everything and they understand everything, the behavior of everything, and how to keep the players in. It became really, really, you know, is a science. But at the same time, those things, in my experience, start getting so early into the development that there's no time to even make the game fun before you start putting out those hooks. So that we didn't like that. We want to make something different. It works for other people, not for us. We want to leave people to play the whole game from beginning to end, without having to, you know, spend either thousands of hours playing the game or thousands of dollars to progress. So, you know, I don't know about you, but I have a life. I have a daughter. I have, you know, I love playing games, but I don't want to spend all my day trying to progress and being frustrated about it. And a lot of mobile games do that to me. So the one thing that we always say is like, we want to make games for people that are, you know, they are hardcore at heart, but they're casual by circumstance. You know, a lot of us love to play console games, but we can't finish the console games because it's like 40 hours, 70 hours of you know, console games, the whole experience. So sometimes I play a couple of hours and I can't play anymore. Sometimes I don't even open the the box of the game. You know, I have games that I never played. On mobile, on the other side, it never ends. So it's always a content mill. In a way, it's kind of like comic books. It's always second act. You always have to get more and more and more and more, because you need to have a lot of people churning through the game, because a lot of people drop from free-to-play games. They'll try it, 5 minutes, it's not for me, they'll drop. So they need millions of people to come through so a few will stay. In case of contests, it's a lot that stayed. But you can imagine how many people had to go through so those few million will actually play every day. It needs a lot of money, a lot of effort, and it's a service, and you keep having to do it. But it's not satisfying in a way that you can go through an experience from beginning to end and actually, I don't know, save the princess or kill the big bad guy or see what happens in the end. So we are interested in this kind of games that we can offer to people, and there'll be a definite single player experience that is not too long, not too short. It's just the right size that you can feel accomplished and you can play it from beginning to end. And of course, there'll be other stuff to play and replayability and extra missions and stuff like that. But the story feels like maybe watch a Disney Plus series, you watch Loki and you have 6 episodes and you're very satisfied at the end. You know what I mean? And then the season 2, season 3, and that's the format we want to do. Maybe we're playing with the idea of having episodic things, like every week there's more to it and we tell a complete story, but there's also exploration, there's also mystery, there's always different modes that we want to introduce, but it's based on a single player finite experience. So that's one thing that working in free to play made me want to do, because I think that's the kind of game that I like, and I think a lot of people out there will like that too. There's also thanks. A lot of people are into that kind of same idea. To make a great game in that formula, of course, is a different. You need to actually make the game, but there's also this gigantic lesson in my life called MROC that taught me a lot of things about what to do and what not to do in a game development. And I want to bring some stuff from the original MROC ideas that we never get to do, and also avoid a lot of things. Here's my girl. A lot of things that I know that I don't want to do based on how the game development went. I got really, really sick and stressed. I thought I was going to die by the end of that process, because, like I said, I invest too much of my own, energy on that thing, and sometimes you do it too much, and I saw the team getting frustrated by the end, and I felt really responsible by it. So I felt really bad that the game didn't work, and that I did not raise my voice, seeing some of the things in the project that I thought it was not connected to the original idea, because we changed quite a bit during the process, and a lot of the stuff that I thought that was at the core of the game got dropped, like the territory control and a stronger game based on factions, on houses, and all of that, for many reasons got dropped, and we focus more on the fighting and the experience, the moment-to-moment experience. I still have it installed in my phone.
We love them.
I still have it's like I'm still proud of everything we did. And games, most often than not, they fail. It's not. Contest is almost like an outlier, and that it lasted so long and still making tons of money, and it's still a great game. But most games at some point, especially mobile, they have that pressure of making the numbers daily. And MROC never had the chance to. If we had another year, I think that game would be much closer to the original concept, because we're starting to build all the systems and stuff. But it wasn't to be.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about MROC and how you thought about, obviously, it having such a short lifespan, not even getting a fair chance in the mobile gaming sphere. So that's interesting to hear, and I'm glad that you're kind of taking. I loved MROC's story. Like, a lot of people obviously didn't pick it up just because, for many different reasons, but I love the story, the characters. I'm glad we got some characters that cross over to MCOC. That was amazing. So I'm glad you're taking the good things and learning from the bad things. I think that's like the absolutely way to go, and I have faith that it's not, that kind of thing isn't going to repeat on how MROC did. So I'm excited to see how it went.
We'll probably make new mistakes, not the old mistakes.
Yeah,
so it is, and I'm super proud. The art team and creative and the story. I just like. Let's put it like that. Even though the game wasn't exactly as I imagined, I would take all the material and make a comic book or a movie, and I would read that. There's so much I love that world, and I love the stuff that we've done, and I'm still very proud of it. And Marvel is also proud of it. They understand all the problems that it had, and but I had many conversations with my friends at Marvel after the game was out, after it got pulled the plug, and they still stand behind the idea and how different it was, and in a way is a bit ahead of its time, because we wanted to. When I pitched that internally, I was like, Marvel's going to be in a few years. Marvel's going to be exploring the multiverse in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, "Yo, I believe you. You read the comics." And I said, "Yeah, they're absolutely going to be doing multiverse. That's the way it's going to be. So let's make a game that arrives there first. When people start thinking about multiverse and stuff, there'll be a place for them to go with all these different versions of characters and stuff. So I feel sad that I would never got to realize the full vision, but that was the idea. And now everybody's talking about multiverse and King and all the stuff, and even there's even other companies making multiverses and Barbieverse and whatever. There's a bunch, right? So
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing for business too, because you can get to reboot things and change things and do different variations of the same stories without actually losing the lore, So
Absolutely. I had a question come in from Null Space. He asked, what do you guys do, or what is your plan at What If for keeping player retention?
oh my God, that's very technical. Well, if you look at our philosophy, one of the items is retention is fun, and fun is retention, right?
Mm-hmm. I put it on screen.
In mobile companies, there's a lot of numbers and acronyms and stuff like that. RPPU or whatever it is. I never could memorize all of that. There's all the numbers that they care to measure how a game is doing. Like, how long do people stay? How long until they become. There you go. All we care about is how fun is the game. It seems very obvious, but sometimes it needs to be said that if somebody's having fun, they'll stay.
Yeah.
And everything else stems from that. So we're trying to make sure that when we play, we're actually having fun early on, and then they'll retain people and they'll stay and they want to play more and they want to even like do stuff like buy skins or whatever. It all comes from that. I want to be in this world. I want to stay here. It's fun and it's not stressing, which is one thing that is very important. There's a lot of games that stress you nowadays. And we want a game that people want to hang out and be, and be happier. I know, like, sometimes my daughter plays a lot of games and sometimes she gets so stressed, and I was like, why are you playing this if you're getting so stressed? Does it feel like a job? Like every day you need to do all the daily tasks, otherwise you won't get the crystal. Or it's supposed to be a game, it's supposed to be fun, and you want to come back to it, and now you're not being forced to come back because you're going to lose on some kind of social pressure. I know it sounds very like naive, but that's the way I see games, and the way the team sees the games is, come on, you know what I mean? Like, at some point we couldn't wait to play our games, and that games are out there that you can stop playing. We don't need all those hamster wheels to have people forced to stay. That only happens when a company is forced to make so much money to satisfy their bottom line that they actually have to be aggressive about it. I'm not saying Kabam's like that. It's a general feeling that I feel in the mobile space, for example. And we don't want to be a $1 billion company. We just want to make amazing games, make some money, of course, pay our bills, and make games with our friends, and have an awesome community that can help us build it. I think we'll be happy by that. We look at studios like Supergiant, for example. They made Hades, and I think that company is like, I look at that company all the time because they started with like maybe 2 people, and they made Hades with 7 people.
Wow.
And became Game of the Year. You know what I mean? and now they're like 20, right? So there are 20 people, and there are a lot. The core of it is all developers, and they have a few support people to help. So that's the goal for me. I see people in smaller studios doing that, and yeah, does that answer your question? That's how we intend
Absolutely.
Yeah,
to
100%.
make people stay. Yeah, you know, yeah. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
You know, there's classics like Super Mario Bros. It's a very linear game, start and finish. You rescue the princess, and everybody loves it. It's classic, so I mean, it is a model that works. I'm sure you guys will nail it.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. We all love Zelda, right? And we've been
Absolutely.
playing Tears of the Kingdom, and that game is almost like a perfect game for me, and also Breath of the Wild, because it's a game that follows its own heart. And you walking around. Some days I boot that game just to be there, just to walk around and do nothing in particular. Oh, maybe I'll just go this way now, and oh, the map is showing here. Oh, I'm going there. And some other days I'm on a mission, just want to like discover how to finish this mission or kill everyone in sight. So there's different things to do, and you don't need to be an open world to have that kind of feeling. I think we're probably not going to be an open world because we're a tiny company, and it's going to take years for us to do that. But we want a game to be a place as well as an activity. So you go there and it's like, oh, there's new things going on. Let's see what happens. In case of Kinship, you have 3 versions of the same place. So you get more things to discover and to find out. And like we'll talk more about the game later. But that's Zelda is always a gold standard for us because we always trying to describe what we're trying to do, and it's like, no, maybe we should do this. Like what game does that? Like, and we always end up on freaking Zelda. You're like, oh yeah, we're not like, but we don't want to compare ourselves to Zelda because it's kind of pretentious to say that we're gonna be like Zelda. But is our spirit animal. It's just like, yeah, this is the game that does it right. Took 7 years for a team of 300 people to do.
Yeah.
but the same idea, is what we're trying to follow in everything.
I'm very excited. I like games like that are world building. You can kind of explore the game. Noah, I think, mentioned God of War. I love that. Like I love going into the world, doing whatever I want, picking up different items, reading the lore. So I my question was going to ask you about what inspires you to build a whole new world, especially with Kinship, which is an original IP. I'm guessing from original ideas you've had. What goes into like that creative process of creating an entire new sphere to explore?
Okay, so I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Don't tell anyone. But Kinship was originally a comic book that I wrote. And it came from one idea that I said, if one day I wrote a Fantastic Four story, what kind of story would I write? So that was the original kind of seed. And I said, okay, because I loved the Fantastic Four growing up, and I love the non-superhero aspect of it, of discovery and exploring the unknown. Let me just connect my thing here. And if I had to recreate the Fantastic Four not with every element, but just like with that kind of idea, a family that is also a family of explorers, what do I do? And then I started from that, but it became something else. It became something a bit different. It still has a lot of elements that you can kind of track back to my Marvel-ness. I'll never stop being a Marvel boy, and everything I do has Marvel to it. You can even look at previous games that we did, like at Exploding Baron. There's a lot of Marvel influence. So then I'll never leave. So that was the origin, and then I started writing it, I started drawing it, and then kind of dropped. I had other things to do and never finished it. But that idea kept coming back in my head because it was a strong idea. And it's like, oh, maybe this could be a game. It has in the whole time thing that it feels like a mechanic. So when we start discussing about our first project, we had a few. We pitched a few games actually. Some are for established IPs. We talked to a few people that maybe I should not disclose, but we talked to a few big players in the entertainment. Once you do Contest of Champions, it opens a few doors. So we talked to a few people, but I'm really not IP guy. I started to discover myself again. I was like, I love working with Marvel, but how many other IPs I would love to work on, and how many will be as good as Marvel? Not only about the characters, but also the way those people carry their business. I hear a lot of people that worked in other franchises like Star Wars or The Simpsons or DC, and they always have some horror stories that might be true or not, that people get really nitty-gritty about approvals, and they don't want it to push too much, and different IPs have like very strict rules, and they have big bibles of rules of how things should look. And but Marvel, I try to think about why is that, but Marvel has a different DNA. They're a very old IP, 80 years of people messing about with their characters in their universe. So they're used to that kind of thing, to letting people just do it. They're very collaborative. Since Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Stan Lee will just write, and then this happens, you know what I mean? And then Jack Kirby will fill all the other blanks. So I think, and then the company was passed through the new generation that they kept trying to keep that idea of like very loose, the Marvel way, you know what I mean? Like it's very famous Marvel way. And that Marvel way, I think, made Marvel feel like a very loose creative collaboration that does not like anything quite like it around in the world. But I'm not sure about other companies. So I was like, at some point we're talking to, like, I don't know, maybe talking to Warner Brothers, for example, and make a game with one of their IPs. And of course, Warner Brothers has amazing IPs. Like they have, like, if you go to like Wikipedia, there's a gigantic list. And immediately I attached to a few of them. And I have good friends working there, and I was like, are they gonna be like Marvel? I don't know. Like, so I was very anxious about like moving to another IP. And then I started asking myself, what do I really? By the way, the two IPs that I wanted to do on Warner Brothers was Thundercats and Johnny Quest.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll do it. Yeah, I actually wrote this treatment for Thundercats. It was very dark, so that's why I'm not entirely sure if all the companies will attach to my way of doing things, and I don't want to get, I was working with Marvel at Kabam. Like I left for a reason, and that reason, if it turns out, it was to try and do our own things, which I was already trying to do all the time, even during the Marvel times. And Marvel gave me so much freedom, and Kabam gave me so much freedom to do it, that it almost felt sometimes like making a new IP. So I started asking myself, like, that's what I want to do. That's my number one thing. I want to do a new thing because it's ours, and we have the freedom to be as crazy or as dark or whatever we want to do. And so we put some IPs in the table. I have about 12 that is on my list here. Kernel of ideas that it could become a game. So I said, like, Kinship is a good one. It shows everybody what we're about. It has great story, great heart, but also really crazy fantasy blended with sci-fi. So let's do that. And the team agreed that we had something in there. And we started developing it. It's been interesting because it's kind of unknown. We don't know. Like, it's kind of like in Contest. I knew a few of the pillars where we want to go, but all the other stuff is still like a forest that we need to brave and change and evolve for the next, I don't know, year, 2 years. Yeah. So is that what you wanted to know, like about where it comes from.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love like when you give
Um,
an answer, it just like spirals out into so many different questions and answers. And it's
I know.
hey, we love you.
I don't know where I'm
Okay.
going. It just pops in my head, and cut me if I'm talking too much.
No, you're
Um,
fine.
Well, I've had stuff that
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to ask you, and you're like, when you're going off, you're answering all my questions.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna ask you what other video games you've been playing,
write that
and
off.
Yeah.
Write that
you're
off.
talking up Zelda, and I was like, well, damn, okay, well, I enjoy
Mm.
it.
Well, of course, like everybody in the world, I'm playing Baldur's Gate now, but
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's why I was early to this. I was like, let me just log off Baldur's Gate, quit eating some chips and dip, and I'll join the boys real quick.
Yeah, that game is really good, and it gives me hope because it's a game that people just made it the way they wanted to make, and everybody
incredible.
kind of flocked to it, right? I had some conversations about the nature of creativity and what kind of creators attract me, and I like people that just brave their own. They don't know what they're going. When they get there, they will know, and the audience kind of goes with them. It's not like it's not that you don't do what people want. You just, most of the time, people don't want to know what they want. They want you to show a new thing, right? And you see people like, oh no, I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan, for example, right? So he's the guy that always follow his own muse, even when it didn't make sense for the people that loved him. People would just boo him in the shows because he decided to change to different style of music instead of just being safe. So that's the kind of artist that I get drawn to. Of course, I make video games. I'm not Bob Dylan, but it's the kind of same idea that you should never be a step behind. You should always forward. Brave something new, and you're gonna get things wrong a lot of the time, but when you hit it, it's gonna be original. So
I have a question for you, Gabe.
yeah.
In Kinship, you said we will experience the same area in like 3 different times, maybe. Does this take any loose inspiration, since now that I know you love Zelda, from Ocarina of Time?
No.
Okay. I just had like a light bulb go off, and I was like, oh, maybe.
No, yeah,
okay.
like I might be, my subconscious might get influence from all different places. So let's talk about Kinship then.
Whoa, yes.
Please. I'm dying.
We're waiting.
When I try to create something, I just turn off like a lot of the outside influences on purpose, and I try to like only get the influences from digested stuff that I don't know where it comes from, because it feels more magic to me. So I've seen people describe it. I was talking to Rich the Man, and he said, "Oh, it feels a little bit like Lost in Space," and I was like, it kind of does a little bit, and it's nothing like it, but it has some. Oh, the movie with Martin LeBlanc in the 90s, and I was like, there is some time traveling in there, and it's about a family as well. So okay, that maybe. But other people will just say, this feels like Fantastic Four, or this feels like other things. But I think there's enough mixture in there to feel original at the same time. So Kinship is basically about a family of explorers. They're exploring the solar system for a few years. So they have 2 kids. One is Nova, the one in the middle there, and she's a teenager now. And she grew up, like most of her life was in the ship. And now she's a teenager, so she's getting a bit butting heads with her parents, so it's getting a little bit of tension. The mom is Naomi. She's more like quiet engineer type, you know what I mean? She's very smart, but she's also a hothead. And the father is Niles. He's a scientist, but also a liar. He's a scientist that got disgraced by the science community because he's very fanciful with his theories. So in science you need to be very strict and precise. but he's a dreamer, right? So they go into space to explore, and they've been 7 years into the trip. And there's a second kid that was born called Newton. That he was born in space, and Newton falls ill, and they are forced to go back to Earth really quick and try and save his life. Put him in cryo, and then before they arrive, there's something that happens. There's a catastrophe that forces all of them to make a hard choice. They cannot land. The Earth is in disarray. So they put all of them in cryo and put themselves in orbit and tell the computer, hey, when it's safe to land us and wake us up. And then a lot of time passes, and all of them wake up, but alone in different, what they think, places. And they don't know what the others are. But it turns out that they awoken in different times. So Nova wakes up 100 years after the big planetary catastrophe. Naomi wakes up. By the way, this is just for us. Don't share, okay? This is just for us here. Just kidding. People will be sharing pretty soon, so yeah, I don't mind.
I'll delete it after the stream. I was gonna do that.
No, it's fine.
Okay,
It's fine. We're gonna start the campaign pretty soon, so I think people should know. So Naomi wakes up 1,000 years after the catastrophe, and Niles wakes up 10,000 years after the catastrophe. So they are separate, and they're probably never gonna see each other again, but they feel they're connected somehow still by this weird force called what they call the Kinship. And so the game is about you playing as the three of them in different times, but in the same place. So you walk the same streets, you go to the same places, but they're wildly different, and you can switch characters, as you want, to try and solve puzzles across time. So you're still working as a team, and through this force, and you're not physically with each other, but you can help each other. There's a mission. There's a big story that you, as you imagine, it somehow related to Newton and where is he and if he even survived. So as you progress during the game, you start getting better at controlling this force. First, you see a few glimpses of the other people, and then you start getting more fluent at actually influencing each other's times. There's obvious stuff that you can do, like if Nova finds a weapon and puts it in a hole in a place where her mom can find 1,000 years in the future, that's influencing the future. And also the transmitting information and teaching them how to build things. But there's also more solid things that you can do that I'm going to keep in under wraps right now. But suffice to say that you can influence time in both directions. And you might ask, like, how? And there is a way. And as you're playing as the father, you can only influence things backwards. So that's how the game works. And the game goes between moments of fighting and battling with more quiet moments where you have to use your brain to actually get out of jams and solve those puzzles between the three of them, and sometimes alone. Sometimes your kin shifting doesn't work. It's like a cell phone signal, There is a place that is stronger with this kind of force, but that if you go away from it, you might be alone and having to solve problems on your own. There'll be solo missions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically what the game is. If you have questions, let me know.
Wow. What age range are you shooting for?
For the players?
Yes, yeah.
I usually like to play in the same age range that Marvel plays. I don't want it to be extremely adult because I want my daughter to play, and she's 12. That's my selfish reason. I want her to be proud of me. but I can go really dark with my stories, and not dark like gory or stuff like that, but psychologically like kind of twisted. And Marvel sometimes pull me back from the the dark pit.
Okay.
But now I'm free to do it. So there you can expect the alternates between beautiful like adventure and something really desperate and hopeless. That's what I like to do. But I don't like to cross certain lines that would be like, oh, adults only. Now I limit my audience, right? And there's a lot you can do that it feels adult and it feels like grown up without excluding people of a certain age, like teens and stuff like that. So, and also like it's very important to us that our audience is not entirely male. There's a lot of things that Marvel does, and Contest of Champions is overwhelmingly male. And there's a lot of reasons for that, you know, the fighting or whatever, but it's also a male fantasy. Being a strong superhero, a lot of the time excludes women, and that's not right. Marvel's trying to fix that, and I'm always interested in bringing everybody as an audience, male and female, in a game and an adventure that they'll enjoy. And I've seen a lot of data about it. I've seen a lot of like studies about how the audience enjoy this kind of games, and there's a lot of misconceptions about how women enjoy games. And you know, there's probably a lot of women in the chat, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the whole idea of women just like this thing of like, oh, it's just building things or the Sims or whatever. No, women love conflict also in games, and then we saw a lot of data about that. It's just the kind of conflict and the kind of violence is a different kind of violence that usually males like. I seen, for example, that like if you create fights that have like a close combat, like punching or swords and stuff like that, women are a bit more drawn to that kind of fantasy than shooting people with a gun at a distance. It's more personal. So there is a way to do adventure and combat. See, Mr. K is saying I'm right. So there is a way to do something that feels adventurous and really badass without excluding women from the pool of players. And we did a few things. You know, Guillotine is a perfect example, right? She is a character that everybody likes. She's badass. She has a cool story, but she also has a depth to her personality. She's not just like a beautiful woman or whatever, right? And I know that comic books sometimes can be a little bit of a shallow fantasy of like power. I want to be like this guy, so I read it. You know what I mean? I want to be strong, something like that. But it's not like that anymore. It's just like you can write really deep stories and still have the capes and the colorfulness of it, without, you know, excluding all of that. You know, long answer again, but that's. I even forgot what you asked. I have so much to talk, and I've been alone in the studio for so long that, you know.
Yeah, no, I've been there. One of our questions was kind of talking about the characters. Obviously, it's a family, and you're known for making Kabam originals that were tied to your family. You know, yourself, your wife, your daughter. Is that some of that, you know, family influence going to be in this game as well?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You write what you know, but give me a second. Mr. K said she saw a cameo of Guillotine in the comic some weeks ago. Is there a new comic?
Ooh, I think the last time Guillotine was like War of the Realms. I don't know about a new one.
If so, let me know because I want to see it. It's probably Al trying to put her in some new comics, you know.
I'm glad because she's been missing for, like I said, the last time was like War of the Realms comic, which was like 2017. Like it's been a long
really?
time.
Oh well. Anyway, the family thing is always present, right? Is you have to write what you know and what you feel about. You know, we're all being stuck in a spaceship for 2 years during the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like a thing that everybody experienced, being stuck in a small space with people that you love, but sometimes you hate, and how you deal with that. So I was interested in that, and also the idea of how even when you're really far away from people that you love, you still feel very connected. That's a real thing. Is something that everybody experiences. You know, when I meet my brother, after years of not seeing each other, it's like we just met yesterday. We just pick it up from when we left on, you know, and that's something that everybody can connect with. I just wanted to make it more fantastic. What if it was this mystical force that even doesn't respect the boundaries of space-time? How does that work? And how would you, as a family that is somehow disconnected by the experience they went through, they're feeling the stress of all the tragedies that happen with them, how they can reconnect, not only to save themselves, but also save something bigger, maybe save the world. And that feels like an interesting story to be told. And of course, I do have a teenage daughter, and I know all the ins and outs of, we're very close, but sometimes, that's also the butting heads and my wife. And so, yeah, it feels like something I can tackle with the team and make a good story about. There's a lot of twists and turns during the story.
How deep have you fleshed out all the lore? I know Jay is going to love that one.
Yeah.
You know it. That's pretty much the first thing I do. I want to have like a solid. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Black Knight.
Yeah.
No, isn't that? Okay, let me see. That one with the white cloak is what's the name? Peregrine. That's not Guillotine.
Yeah, the white cloak Excalibur, I think.
Yeah, that's the they actually work together in the Defenders of Europe or.
Yeah, but Guillotine's in the bottom right, stabbing Thanos.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Guillotine. I'm blind. Jesus. Yeah, Guillotine's here.
That's cool.
My God. That's so amazing. So what's the context of this? Sorry to derail the.
Oh no, we love comics.
Yeah.
How cool is it that you're seeing like something you created for the, it's just like, there it is.
Oh man, that's nothing like seeing your work in paper, printed by a comic book. There's nothing like it. Not even games. Sorry, it's just like when I grabbed the first cover I did for Marvel and for the Contest of Champions, I was like, oh my God, I made it. That's it. So she dies. She dies in the alternate story. Eyes of Gauntlets? That's also from Contest.
I have not read that. That's really interesting.
Oh, and that's Paco's art too. Give me the issue. I'll buy it now.
Yeah. I've tried to.
What's the number of the issue?
I've tried to buy all of Guillotine's appearances because I think it's so cool to see the first original from MCOC to leave that first leave the game that she debuted in to the comics and continuing.
I know.
To show up.
Me too. I'm kind of like, you probably can see it behind here, but I have all the Funkos and I have the album cover that. Liquid Swords by the RZA.
Yeah.
That they made.
Yes, MCSC.
Yeah. I bought that because they had the lenticular kind of effect that you moved it around and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh, you have the lenticular?
Yeah. It cost me.
That's cool.
Like $50 or something like that. But
I got that too.
I don't have the lenticular. I have the what is it? Just the raw version. But
yeah, it's amazing to see. Like, for me, it was like, a character that I designed, a version of the Maestro that I designed, was inked by Bill Sienkiewicz. How crazy is that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I was like, it's something so unreal, and this is the kind of thing that you only get with Marvel. But anyway, what were we talking about?
Just comics.
USA Avengers issue number 2 is the
okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was I do now remember. Yeah, that's from a couple years ago, like 2017. Yeah, the USA Avengers. USA event.
2017 is 5 years, 6 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Just flies by.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're talking about, what?
We're talking about
and,
Kinship.
Yeah, yeah,
The family.
the family,
yeah.
the lore.
So yeah, I'm trying to pull a lot of stops at this point. I enjoy the experience with oh yeah, what is that? Oh, sorry, I'm keep looking. So I try to I've really enjoyed the experience with MROC because MROC felt like giving the keys to the kingdom to us, like being really crazy, just using elements of the Marvel universe and remixing it and building on top of it. So I quite enjoyed that experiment. So I want the world of Kinship to feel as varied and crazy with layers of civilization on top of each other. I really love history and archaeology, and I want to make an archaeology of the future. So when you play in the primordial age, which is basically antiquity built on top of our current age, so they dig for they're ancient peoples in the future that dig for our own artifacts. So it's kind of opposite. So you see the temples that look like ancient Babylonian temples, but they have big signs of pizza, and because they'll dig those things and they don't know what it means, but they thought it was pretty, so they'll use it as artifacts. And there'll be like warlords that believe our culture was the pinnacle of everything, and they try to learn from our culture, but they start learning from all the wrong things, all the pop culture, all the like stupid things that we do now. That's what they think is the high culture that they want to discover the secret knowledge about. So you see a lot of that. The dystopian age is a bit more like, it is a dystopia, is the dark ages again. Civilization fell again, and is all dominated by machines and people that discovered our worst inventions again. Because the first primordial age doesn't have even electricity, but the second age discovered bombs and missiles and oil rigs and all of that, and there's a arms race to dominate. So it's a mix between industrial revolution and feudal Japan with the warlords fighting for supremacy, and there's like mechanical samurais and stuff like that. But it's all kind of remixed. And the third age is a bit crazy. Is an age where everything got blended together. The nature kind of reclaimed a lot of the world, but it's mixed with it almost feels like an alien planet, because everything evolved to a point that you have organic machines, and you have like this sentient moss kind of taking over like large parts of the continent, but the moss has like fiber optics in it. It is a bit crazy, and you have creatures that feel really out there. Like that's what I try to like. Just like, if I didn't have any constraints to what kind of creatures I can imagine, what would that be? But it's also there's a evil looming at that time that's the end all be all, like, of if they want to save the world, that's where it all ends. So it's a little bit of different flavors for everything, but because you play in the same areas, you're gonna see the same landmarks in different ways. Maybe you have to cross the desert to get something, but in the future it's not a desert anymore, it's an ocean made of oil, and then you have to navigate your way around it. So there's a lot of little things, that even factions that used to be enemies in the past, now they're allies. And maybe because you have a choice to make sometimes, if you want to fight someone, or if you want to just use your brains and use some items or forge something, or if you fight that person will be an enemy in the future, but that faction will keep evolving and maybe become an army or something, and they are your mortal enemies. But if you decide not to fight them, maybe you have information from the future, say, hey, those people will become more enlightened, and they can be good allies. So don't fight them. Try to find another way to talk to them or just go around or whatever. So there's some decisions that might affect how the future goes.
Wow.
Stuff like, I don't know, Nova in the past, the more she does, the more she becomes a legend, the more you can see stuff like statues of her face in the future. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we want to do, like little touches here and there that will affect how she's seen in the future. Or maybe you can use, let's say, like, Nova, I'll do this quest that those people will be really grateful with me, and they'll make a statue of me, and the statue will be by the cliff. And in the future, the mom can go there and break the statue so it becomes a bridge. You know what I mean? That kind of thing to manipulate the different times can become possible if you think about it. That's the kind of thing that we want to do.
That is really cool.
All right.
Yeah.
It's like so unique.
KB, you got one? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just complimenting that it's like such a unique concept. I legitimately can't wait to get my hands on this game.
Thanks, man. Thanks. We can't wait to finish it, and there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't know how deep you want to get into details about how it works and how the gameplay is, but ask away.
Yeah, I'm really excited for I love time travel stories, and not only is this a time travel story, but it's also a post-apocalyptic story, which another one of my favorites. So you're just combining two sci-fi like dramas that I'm really excited for. And you have also, you just said your decisions can affect how the story progresses in different ways. So I am very excited to see how that works out, and what decision is super important and then totally changes the future, or versus like small decisions that just little statues here and there and whatnot. Sounds super exciting.
Right. Of course, we're a small studio, and like that could balloon pretty quickly, right? If you like have so many branches of history that we have to build all of that, so we need to be really careful what is meaningful to the story, and not just completely change it. Like you step in a bug and now everything changes, right? It's not the butterfly effect. So we're really careful about what we do, and the story can be somewhat linear, so things will happen for a reason and we can make beautiful art for it. But we don't want to be like working this game for 10 years and we need to do like so many variants of things. And in the end, it becomes less meaningful, right? You really need to find what is the right things that you have to do to affect the most change and help your relatives succeed. We also have I don't know, you didn't ask, but we also have I'm just too excited to talk about it.
Hey, go ahead.
We're thinking about character progression and character skill trees and stuff like that. How we can be less generic and more related to you and your family. So Greg is our designer, and we've been talking a lot about how we can evolve the characters separate but also together. The example I always give is like each one has the psychological traits. Like Nova, for example, she's good at a lot of things. She's very smart, and she can fight, and she's like a ninja. If you get the 3 classes for the 3 characters, to be the more or less what Gauntlet is. You have like a rogue, you have a heavy, which is the mom, and you have a mage, which is the dad. So, but Nova can fight and is very fast, but she's anxious. She has anxiety problem, and then she has panic attacks. And the panic attacks, if you use her to fight too much, she might get a panic attack as a way. It's almost like a cooldown, right? She gets, no, I don't want to fight. It's like, so to get your character out of that, and make her more apt to get in conflict, you need to evolve that character, but you also can help through mom, because part of what we want to do is like mom is helping her, but she can be a bit overbearing sometimes. So you try to evolve the mom character to be less intrusive and be more fostering of independence, and self-reliance. So Nova can learn that she it's all right. She can do this. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to interfere a lot. So that's the kind of thing we're exploring with the characters' progressions. To feel meaningful is not only strength, speed. You know what I mean? It's also those things that feel that you need to shape yourself in the negative shape of your family sometimes. You know, if somebody likes to talk a lot, like me, you know, sometimes my wife likes to listen a little bit more because, you know, if both of us start talking like crazy, it'll be a problem. So you need to mold yourself and help each other and shape a personality so you can also see it as a unit. That's part of what we're trying to do with the characters too.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of questions from chat. What's the replayability going to be like?
That's a good question. Everybody asking that, and we don't want a game. We want a game that you can finish, that you can play from beginning to end and be satisfied, but with a lot of replayability. That's important to us because, you know, it's a lot of effort to make a game, and you don't want people just blaze through it. And then we know some people will do it, just blaze through it in a few hours, and then that'll be it, right? So we want to have this world as a platform to introduce new modes, new quests. And then when you see the Kickstarter come online, which is going to be soon, you see that we broke the experience in different levels of, you know, stretch goals. We will build the game with the basic funding that we get, and then we're going to expand the adventures of those people and more people into the world. So if you see a map and you see how we've broken down in pieces, if we get that level of support, that's the game. If we get second level of support, maybe we'll build a new area. There'll be more missions, more stories, and other things to do. And we keep expanding on that because I like building universes, and if we get enough support, I want to keep expanding that, and people can come back. You know, we love collection. We love finding things in the world and solving puzzles. There's a lot of that we want to keep doing, keep adding to the world. So yeah, we intend to have a lot of replayability. Not in the way that you need to go back there every week or you lose something. Is you want to come back because there'll be new stories and new chapters of this thing. But if you only get the basic support, we're still gonna build a satisfying game that has a beginning and an end. That's what we want to do.
So earlier, I think you mentioned you had kind of like a bunch of ideas out on the table when you were talking about like IPs about what to do next. Kinship is an action RPG. If you have I don't even know if you've gotten that far, but do you guys have anything in mind outside of the action, like your second game from What If? Is that are you guys going to be suited, like tailored to action RPGs, or are you going to try to branch out, or am I getting too ahead of myself?
Some of the other games we pitched, they were in different genres. You know, I think the filter was the genres we like, and we have some experience working on. It's definitely going to be action. It's definitely going to have story. It's definitely going to have beautiful art and stylized art, which we all like. And some other things that were just like, you know what? For this IP, we always try to match what the character is with the kind of gameplay that character would be suited to. That's the way we approach everything. All the different pitches we did, it's like, oh, this character, you know, maybe this is a good fighting game, or maybe this is a good mystery game or racing game, or whatever it is. So we've been approaching things that way. And of course, the creative comes strong in the beginning, and then we have to pick things apart and say, hey, this, you know, how does it feel? It feels like a Zelda game. It feels like an open world game. So yeah, we play in a range, but not like, we're not going to suddenly start making games that we never had first person shooter now. You know, it's not, because in real life that's not gonna work unless we hire a whole team of people that understand the space, understand how it works. we see that we're working in this. We know we want to do this isometric world that has a lot of expensive vistas, and people can go to places and see, oh, maybe there's a street down here and I can go. But we also play with different cameras. Like, let's say when you fight, maybe it's a different camera. There's nothing stopping us from doing this, right? I had a lot of hard time in Realm because I wanted the game to be much closer to the characters as it was. But because of some decisions that we made, the camera needed to be far away because it was a team. You need to see where everybody in the team is at all times, or at least some people in the team thought of that. I disagree that at all times. I said, I don't really care. I want to be in the action with my superhero, and those models look amazing. Like, sometimes it's a mess. Yeah, sure. Diablo is a mess. You don't know what's going on, and you're still super happy to be there. So it was a different kind of opinion on how the game should be. Some people like the strategy better. Some people like the feeling of being a superhero better. I'm in the second camp. So whatever serves the experience is what we're gonna pursue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So how often are you going to be able to switch between the family members?
As often as you want, except when we don't want you to.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Except when so like we're playing with different ideas. Like we are trying to do like as a PC/mobile first, thinking of both experiences, and then also if we get the funding, there's the levels. We'll do PC and then we'll do mobile. We always think mobile. We come from mobile, but this would be great as a PC experience too, and also maybe a Switch. So for mobile, the first thing we tried was like, is a tab, so you can swipe back and forth maybe halfway and see what's there. Oh, okay, so I'll go back, and that's the way you switch between characters. Now I'm gonna switch really quick to the mom and do something. I don't know, switch back. So there's layers of, you see the buildings kind of transforming. When we start thinking about bigger screens, we start asking ourselves the questions like, what if? See what I did that? What if? We slice the screen in three, and three people can play at the same time. I'm not saying we're gonna do that, absolutely. But when you change the experience, you also open different possibilities. How you can transit from different times. If you split the screen in three and there's two of your friends and you collaborating, that also changes a lot how the game is built. So we don't know, but like there's definitely a way to switch, whenever you want. But we want to reserve some areas. We're thinking of kinshifting like a cell phone, signal. So if you walk away from the kinshifting, it's off. So you see the little, I'm not going to do the bars like a cell phone, but like, it's 0 bars. So now you're on your own. So now you cannot see the future, or you cannot see the past. So you're stuck there until you can return to an area where you can actually contact the other people. But otherwise, if you're in an area that is available, you can do it as much as you want, and to we want you to explore and see like, oh, what should I do now? Maybe I'll go to the future and check, or stuff like that.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm glad that when you get to that chance, you can switch between, but then in key moments, you want to be in that character, continue that story with that character instead of switching back and forth. That really excites me.
Yeah. Again, it's early days, so a lot is possible. A lot of ideas are possible, and then it will turn out that some of the ideas will not be possible with the amount of resources we have. So we need to make wise decisions, and we're also going to be open a channel with people that want to be involved. part of the rewards in the Kickstarter is to have access, to alpha builds, to have access to exclusive Discord channels, so you can see the game being made and maybe offer suggestions. Of we want people to get involved in, and that will make the game better. Like I said, the community will help us make the experience.
Very nice. So I think people are going to be curious where to find this Kickstarter or how to support the What If studio.
Cool. So I'm just waiting for Kickstarter to give me the get-go. Is under review right now to get the link for the pre-launch. The pre-launch is basically a page that says, if you're interested in this, click here, and then when the campaign launches, we'll let you know. And that's very important to us to get followers on Kickstarter, because that's the way they feature projects, and they think, oh, this is something to be supported. There's people that are interested in that. We're shooting to get the campaign live September 12th. That's our date. But it all depends on Kickstarter, because they're supposed to be approving the thing yesterday and still like hanging as waiting for approval. So we're all like biting our nails to see. Hopefully Monday we have the link, and then we can share with everybody. You guys can go there and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Even if you don't have money or anything like that to help, everybody that feels like, a click in there will help our case. And like I said, we're in the stage that all I want is to get to the next step, and to keep my team together, because those people are irreplaceable to me. All of them. Maybe some of them are even watching this, I guess. I don't want to lose this chemistry. The core of 5 or 6 people that are really invested and really talented, and we speak the same language. I could hire somebody else if they get a job, but it wouldn't be the same. So all I want is this Kickstarter to be the first step, to keep the team working on this, because I know there's more people interested in investing it. But the weird thing about money is that if you have money, they'll give you money. If you don't have money, they won't give you money. It's kind of weird. Oh yeah, some people give you money, so it must be good. So there's a lot of people on the edge, and it's like looking at us and like. So I know if we keep going and keep showing things built, more people want to invest and publish our game. We have a couple of publishers that said basically, we'll publish it. It's just we don't have money to pay for it now, but we'll publish it. We love this, and so yeah, that's the next step. We're always looking at the next step, and I thank all you guys, because I was overwhelmed by the amount of support, and I think that will make our success. People that are invested and are really interested in seeing this happen will make a huge difference, because there's tons of people out there in the world making games in their garages, and they don't know how to get to the next step. We have a little bit more going for us. We already made the game that people love, or a couple of games, and we always be in contact, all of you guys in the community, and we always have a good relationship. So that will make the difference for us, I think, among all the other talented gamers and game studios around. And if we succeed, it will be because of you guys and people like you. So I just have to thank you guys.
Of course, we really love
like your passion, man. Like, you're so passionate about everything you do. It's just, it sells itself. If somebody's even just like watching this, or any of your other interviews that you're doing your grassroots campaign, but people just, it's like attractive. It's like a magnet, because you're so passionate about everything, and then we're all over here getting excited, and we're like, oh yeah, we can't wait. So it's like,
thanks, man. Thanks. I hope I don't disappoint. I hope we can build something that you're gonna be really excited about and stick with it. And I know this passion thing is gonna be my tombstone. I know it's gonna kill me sometime. The whole thing about giving my 100% all the time and just forgetting to breathe and drink water and all of that. But for now, it's been a great ride.
Yeah, I mean, I think you talked about it in our last interview whenever we were talking about you pitching the MROC to Marvel. And, I think you're bringing the same energy when you come to pitch your new game, Kinship, here. And, I think everybody's going to love it. Just the amount of passion that you bring to the table. And, I think everybody's going to be on board.
Yeah, we're here
Cool.
for you, man.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much. I think it's great. And I want to talk to every single one of you. I talk to people that have like 2 followers, and I don't mind. It's just amazing.
That's me.
I love to see the passion on other people too, and it feeds me. And even if in the process, as the process goes, if you start not liking it, just tell me too, and maybe we can find a way to make something that more people will like too. We do have specific vision for it, but we are open to see what people attach to, and that's
Absolutely.
how you make a great game.
Sign me up. I'll be a game tester. Let you know what's working, what's
Same.
Yeah, we're gonna open the Discord, and we're gonna have a part of it that people can sign up and if they want to play the game and collaborate and whatever fashion. I was just talking to Super Duper Boo, and is he here? Yeah, he's here.
not.
Yeah, he's in here.
And he said, "Can I make like a cover, like a comic cover? Those cool retro covers that he does."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, sure. That's really cool to like start building, the word of mouth and beautiful art and stuff." So, yeah, that's those. I love the Aegon they did and King Groot, and so he asked if he could do something like that, and say, yeah, amazing, like whatever is your talent lies. I would love to see. I don't know. There's a lot of artists in the community that do stuff. It's like Kat Murdoch, for example, right? If she wants to do her own chibi versions of our characters, I would love to see it. All
sure
of that
she
is
will.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
whatever. If one of you like make music. That kind of collaboration is really inspiring.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you have anything else over there, KB?
Oh, is he gone?
Oh, nope.
I can.
He's playing Baldur's Gate again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do have one of his questions. I'll ask. Who's your favorite Marvel character these days? Can be your original or an established character.
Nowadays, you know what? I disconnected a little bit from Marvel in the last few months, just to like detox from contests and all of that. So I'm not reading much. I'm very interested in reading Al's Immortal Thor.
Yeah.
So I have some comics that I want to read. But I've been reading more indie comics. I went to a few conventions and I brought like a bunch of indie comics. So Marvel, I still stick to my old favorites. Like I love the Silver Surfer and I love MODOK. I love the Fantastic Four, and but I've been getting some X-Men itch nowadays.
Yeah, my favorite.
The X-Men changed so much with Hickman, and it's been such an interesting world building that I like to follow. I follow at a distance and see like what they're doing there, and with X-Men '97, and the interest in X-Men will just get rekindled again. With the Wolverine game that is gonna come, because I was an X-Men kid growing up.
Me too.
And for me, the X-Men, there was no Avengers. It was X-Men was the core of the Marvel universe for me. It made way more sense. So I hope they can get to that place again. I think the Avengers are cool.
I heard they're actually doing that. They're gonna pitch making the X-Men the front runner. So I'm really excited for that.
I hope so because the Avengers, once you get, I'm sorry with all the new characters from the new phase, but there's no way you can top having Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch. Uh, we experienced that in Contest of Champions too. We made pretty much all of the great A-listers, sometimes several times over. And then we went to B to C list. And now, like 8 years in, like we're getting, now they're getting, it's not my problem anymore, but it's to find new characters, sometimes it gets a little bit, oh yeah,
Oh wow,
that's funny.
That was fast.
Don't do that because Kabam would think I'm copying my own character.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they all have red hair, and it's if you look at the mom, why they all had red hair. The mom have darker skin and stuff. There's a reason, and it's not because of DNA. So let's leave it like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I know Marvel. You can explore all the characters, and sometimes you start getting slim pickings. Even in the TV shows, and I love D-list characters. I love to take those characters and make them shine again, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. So eventually they'll have to reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And when they reboot, yeah, they could do Iron Man again, and Thor again, and Captain America again, or they can try something a bit different. And I hope they do the X-Men, right? So I have an idea for an X-Men game. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, we need that.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's not what you
have another-
expect.
Hey, it's been a long time
had
since
another-
X-Men Destiny.
Yeah. Maximus Savage in chat asked if you had any favorite modern Marvel writer. He says he's been following 3W3M, which is Hickman's Substack.
Oh yeah, I've been following that. I'm a big fan of Al. I think he's the closest to a modern Alan Moore we can get.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he'll be the first to say no. No, but he's very smart, and the stuff that he writes is at the same time very deep into the lore of Marvel. He knows everything. The times I talked to him, we just had conversations. I was like, oh yeah, this is way deep for me. He studies his thing, right? But at the same time, he puts some really interesting concepts. I have no doubt that when they make a Hulk comic, it will be Immortal Hulk. A Hulk movie, I mean. Because that's the best Hulk story now. They don't need to go much further than that, and creating a dark, almost horror-like Hulk movie, what he did in Immortal Hulk. I don't know if you guys read it, but
I have. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. But he's not inventing everything from thin air. He's just taking some concepts that were there since the beginning and just shining a new light on them. Other people have done it, like Peter David. The whole idea of the Hulk transforming at night, that's not new. At first he transformed at night, and then Stan Lee kind of silently dropped that. But then Peter David in the 90s wanted to clean up the Hulk's background. Why he's used to transform at night, and now he transforms when he's angry. So he created a backstory for that, right? Oh, actually, there's more than one Hulk inside Bruce Banner, and one comes at night and the other. So that's where he came from. And then Al took it to the next level. Just like, oh no, the Hulk cannot die. It's spoilers for a 10-year-old comic, but and the whole body horror that came from that, there's like, you cannot die, you're just gonna be like distorted, and it's so good. So Al,
Yeah.
definitely. Hickman is more a universe builder, and I love his high concepts. His writing for me is a bit on the dry side. He's a good writer, but I love his concepts, and I identify with him because I'm not a great writer either. I like to write, but it's more about building things, and I try to force myself to get to the small things, and even concept in contest was like that, trying to write the small stories with Guillotine, having dinner with Guillotine 2099. That was like,
That was awesome.
if you leave me alone with that stuff, that's what I'm going to do. Like, oh yeah, we don't have. They used to say, oh, we don't have resources to do cutscenes. So if you want to do it, you can do it, but you have to do it in your own time, kind of thing. And I was like, sure, but I'll never show anyone what I was writing. And we just show up in the game, and it's luckily people will like it. But that's where I got interested in more and more with superheroes. That, oh, fine, that one. They will fight all the time, but like I want to know why. I want to know why they do that, and what do they do in the strange reality when they not fighting? Do they eat? Where did they get food from? So I started thinking about all of that, and I wanted to have something there in the game, but it's not about the fighting. It's about growing in this strange place and still trying to have a normal life. And Guillotine, and a lot of people ask me, like, Guillotine and Guillotine 2099 are gonna become a couple or something. But I'll leave it open. Because I wanted to get into Guillotine 2099's mindset. I told that story before. Guillotine, I never saw Morningstar as a villain. I always saw Morningstar as somebody that needed to evolve, get out of that coffin and all that pain, and go into, evolve into something better. And then she did. She got a new body, but because she haven't touched anyone in hundreds of years. And that scene that you posted right there is the first time she touches anyone. A hug. And Guillotine is the one that brings her back to humanity. And they hug. And, Guillotine 2099 gets a bit confused about her feelings, because imagine if you don't hug anyone for 1,000 years and then somebody hugs you, and you might fall in love with that person, right? So that's what I was implying more or less in the dinner, that Queen Hassan was feeling like some weird attraction to Guillotine, but Guillotine wasn't sure, but because she's generally heterosexual, but that they have some kind of connection through the sword. The sword makes them like almost like soul sisters in a way. So Guillotine 29 is a bit confused. Huh?
He basically said, "What if?"
Yeah, what if? And I also hinted at Guillotine having a relationship with Doctor Strange, but nobody picked that up. And I wrote a story about that. It's part of the Guillotine miniseries that I pitched to Marvel with Al Ewing. We were both going to write together. The way we divided that, I would write the current day story, and in between, in every issue, be a tale of a guillotine from the past that would connect somehow to the present. And he wrote some really amazing concepts about like how to develop that. And part of that is how Guillotine has that thing with Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange is in Paris, and then he's in a cafe after doing some kind of mission or whatever, and then he sees this girl with the red hair walking by with a bunch of architecture stuff, because she's an architecture student, right? Guillotine's Janine Savage. But behind her is this procession of ghosts, of like ghouls like in capes and the red and swords and stuff like. And then of course Doctor Strange can see that, being the mystical, master that he is. So he gets curious and goes talk to Guillotine. Who are you? That you've been following by ghosts, and the ghosts seem to be, nobody can see them, but they're like trying to protect her at all times, like looking at people like it's snarling, but nobody can see them, but Doctor Strange of course can see. Yeah, those guys. And the story is all about her discovering her background, and we introduce Morningstar. We introduce also other villains that they are the Van Helsings to the Guillotines. That's something that me and I also came up together. They're called the Gizarms, and they use this pole arm that kind of holds swords. You know what a Gizarm is? It's like a long stick with a kind of like curved blade, and they're supposed to fight against sword fighters. They're because you can hook the sword and then stab them on the side, something like that. So the Gizarms are this family that was created to fight the Guillotines because they think the Guillotines are the devil and a dark power, and so that's the story we're following. And also what happened to Guillotine's mom, because we know about Janine's father. He used to be a Guillotine and he disappeared and he died. And then she inherits the sword in that page, right? And also in the motion comic that we did. So, but her mom, we never talk about her, and her mom there's an interesting story there, a love story between a French government secret agent, which is her dad, and a Algerian freedom fighter, which is her mom, and how they supposed to hate each other, but they loved each other, and they had to separate, and that was a really cool story. I'm glad to even tell it a little bit right here because I wanted to make it, but Marvel didn't want to make it, so
man,
c'est la vie.
I wanted to ask on that is obviously, you're away from Kabam, who making Marvel Contest Champions. Is there any way you would return just to do a guest type of work, like as a guest, and continue a story? Like, let's say if they want to continue Guillotine, and they have you write on for that project, is that something you'd be interested in, or do you kind of just
sure.
Okay, yeah,
sure.
I was really
sure. I would do it. I love those guys. I love the team there. It's their story to tell now, so who knows if they even want to do more Guillotine. There's so many characters now to address, and movies and all of that. So yeah, sure. I always love to write the Guillotine stories, and I always carve time to myself to actually do it. I love to write the darkest stories too, and so I always wanted to do it myself. So yeah, there's a few stories that I wanted to tell in the Guillotine world, and if they invite me, of course I'll do it. But I'm not sure if they would. They don't really need me. They are doing really well without. I don't see that happening, but who knows? Maybe Marvel will want to do something in the future with a comic, or maybe I don't know if they make the Black Knight movie. Maybe Guillotine can.
Yeah, they need to
make a guest appearance. Yeah, that would be fantastic. But
Champions of Europe.
That, yeah, right. Because you have all the sword fighters and stuff like that. But for that to happen, I think the studio need to recognize the value of games as a creative power, and I think it's getting there, but it's not quite there. Especially mobile games. Sometimes they think mobile games as some kind of lower form of entertainment, and I don't really think that, but I think there's a lot of people that do. The console games are getting a lot of attention because of high production values and Spider-Man and all of that. So they're being forced to acknowledge that, but it's going to take a couple of years until they realize that a lot of people grow up with those characters in mobile and they play every day for years. So it's part of their fantasy world, which is fantastic. Oh no, I stand corrected. They did once, right? Because Peggy Carter was created in a mobile game. So,
Captain Carter, Puzzle Quest.
So people could not deny that, like that idea was so instantly great that everybody attached to it. So you went from the mobile game to the comics to What If, and then to the movie. So there was a meteoric kind of rise for that character. So yeah, but the comics need to acknowledge first, because they are the originators of the ideas, and they need to. Champions, Contest of Champions, the movie.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I've been approached for doing a TV show by somebody that wanted to create a pitch for a TV show. it was the same people that produces our trailers, so you see the quality there, right? To do CG movie, and they say, yeah, let's pitch something, let's pitch a series, and we start talking about it, how we were going to pitch that, but apparently it's very hard to get Disney to do anything other than they already doing. They already have a lot of things on production, so it's hard to pitch something from the outside to them, and so it kind of lost steam a little bit.
One day. I remember you mentioned that last time. So
it needs to be fan made. I think that's the way you get traction now. If somebody makes a fan made Contest of Champions trailer, and then somebody gets attention, and somebody from the movies likes it, and it becomes something a movement.
Of course. All right. I think I just have one more question. Does anyone else have a few questions so we can wrap up?
I'm good.
All right. What about you, KB? If you're here.
Still out. Oh,
No,
there he is.
it literally just popped back in, and I hear. What about you, KB?
Yeah. So do you have final questions you want to ask?
I did have two. We can make them quick. So, Gabe, who's your favorite Marvel character? You could kind of rapid fire it, like both just in general, and then that you. Oh, you asked it already?
Yeah, I did while you were gone.
Damn it!
Guess who's
so
my
sorry, man.
who's my favorite DC character? Just
Yeah.
Okay, well,
things
Jay
up.
already asked that one. I guess I would say who's your idol? Who's your inspiration in life?
I have so many. My mom, my wife. She goes through so much, and she still fights. I do have my daughter is becoming very quickly a person that I admire. She's so smart. But I do. I talked about some of artist idols that I love, like Bob Dylan and Chuck Jones, people that follow their muse, no matter what, even when the world is telling them to move. How the rest goes. It's people like that never give up. And I'm a lazy guy, by nature. I like to just rest and take it easy, but I start realizing in life that if I don't do it, nobody's gonna do it for me, and I really needed to starting to come here to Canada. And when I came here, it was just me, and then my wife came, and we had to build things from zero again. And it seems like a great journey, and I got inspired by people like my mom, because my mom works since she was 12, and she can't take no for an answer. She goes straight for the jugular, and she's very, very strong in a world that in Brazil, especially, is very male-centric. She had to carve her own space in life, like a lot of women do. But I saw her since I was a kid. So yeah, she's kind of a hero to me, and I always wanted to write her story as a comic book, and one day I will. I just read March. Have you read the graphic novel about Congressman Lewis in the U.S.? They wrote about the civil rights movement and stuff like that. And I think comics are a very good medium for autobiographic stories. It's a very good way to read about people's real lives, because it kind of takes the edge off by having a drawing approach to it. So I want to do that. I want to do a comic book about her life, because it's been an incredible life.
Yeah, I'd love to read that.
Yeah, comics are hard, man. They're hard. I love making them, but they're hard to make, and they take a lot of time, and they don't make money, which is a problem too. It's hard to make a living out of comics, and I admire people that do.
I feel you on that. I'm doing a senior exhibit right now. Actually working as a creative director, and I have concepted characters and comic artists, which are all MCOC artists that I hire to do covers. And the whole thing's like, you've inspired me to do it actually, is to be a creative director for this project. And it's kind of like that process, and it is super difficult, get people to do this on time, get people to do that, have your thoughts and turn it into artwork through other artists is really difficult. And I even looked at like having to produce the comics, and I was like, man, you don't make anything doing that.
Yeah, I know. And I think I disagree. I think being a director is easy. I think being a creative director and an art director is the easiest job I ever had, because making the stuff, and being every day building those characters, that requires years of commitment and craft. And I had a lot of creative directors and art directors just got by. They just walked by your desk like every once in a while and, oh yeah, more blue or whatever. You know what I mean? The hovering art director thing. And when I became an art director, it was almost by chance, because I wanted to be calling some shots that I saw that people were doing wrong, and it kind of became my job, and it became creative director. But I always saw the most, being a great creative director, that's hard. But being a regular creative director is just like, you can just coast. You can, if you have a great team, you just sit by and get all the credit. You know what I mean? So that's why I never wanted to be just that kind of creative director that just in meetings all the time. And I wanted to keep doing the games. Otherwise you lose that kind of, the spark. So yeah, you can be if you don't feel like being a great art director, you can pretend to be one and be also great. You can get good money out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've never seen your work, but you should send me some stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to.
Yeah, I love to see
do it.
work. I love to see people work, and I'm not gonna be too harsh. I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah,
I like to
I got
see.
disconnected for the 4th time, guys. So if I just randomly disappear, I'm really sorry. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, good, dude.
But thank you for as I get the feeling like we were kind of wrapping up, and then this thing keeps disconnecting me, and I'm gonna come back and everybody's gone. So
we'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Well, either way, thank you for letting me
I know.
be here.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us. Thanks for being here, and there'll be more. We can talk more, and I'll be sharing more information and stuff, and I love to see your art, and all of you guys have different talents, and I love to see when you post things. And when I was at Kabam, I love to like push some of the talents of the community to maybe collaborate with us. Now you see like some people working on the community team, and when Kat Murdoch started doing her work, and I said we should do something with Kat. So much talent out there. It's just like some of us got lucky to just be in the right time in the right place, and we got a job on this side of the fence. But then other people, are still as talented.
Mm-hmm.
It just took a different direction in their lives, but it's still making great art because the internet allows us to share the stuff that we do. So I love to see more. I love to see more of what you do.
Yeah, I obviously you talked to Duperboo, but for my project, I hired him to do the first cover. So it's
oh really?
Yeah, I'll share it to you. But it's exactly that. We have so many talented artists in the community that, Kat's now just doing graphics for the official MCOC, which is awesome. So, I hope continue to see that bridge between like you mentioned, fan art before and concept art outside of the official developers of the game. I like to see that.
So do you pay well? Are you paying Super Duper Blue well?
I did, yes. I paid him. I commissioned him for.
Nice.
It was something that I had to do. Is I wanted to pay all my artists. He paid me with friendship. I paid him. I think a good amount for his work. I was like, I needed a good number.
Good to know, because if Kinship doesn't work, I'll go knock at your door for a job.
Hey, we hope so.
Well, what is that?
This is
That contest stuff.
this is catch
Get out of
graphic.
here. I know. It's oh yeah, the graphics. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see that.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I love to see more people doing stuff for a contest because they know the game inside out too, and they would love to do anything like that. When we thought about, for example, doing little icons, you know those little emojis that some games do. When you text, there's a bunch that you can download the pack, and we thought about using her art and doing some emojis for a contest, so you can. There's a lot of things that we thought about that we never ever got to do for lack of time or money or whatever, but that would be amazing. All of that.
Yeah, there's emojis in the battlegrounds now.
Oh,
So-
there are? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
playing the game.
I don't know the artist
So-
for
Yeah.
them, but some of them are very familiar style. I'm not sure.
I don't know either, but I remember people. I remember people talking about that a long time ago. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Who did that? Probably one of the concept guys, maybe.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't actually know, but they're so good.
Yeah. I recognize the style. Maybe Sung did. I don't know. Yeah, that's really cool. Some of those guys are, some of the best concept artists I ever worked with. Crazy Marvel nerds like us. All they want is to create a new Marvel character. Yeah. I miss those guys, but what can you do?
Right. We're all excited for your new game, Kinship, and I think we're about ready to wrap it up. What do you say, Jay?
Yeah. Let's rapid fire questions real quick, just so I get
Okay.
everyone's. All right. What advice would you give to Kabam for writing your original characters like Guillotine, Aegon, etc.?
Think like me. No, it's very individual, right? I'm pretty sure people can write those characters as well as me, but they'll never write quite like me because they came from my own experience. So yeah, I don't give any advice. I think they're great writers there, so they can do a good job.
That's good. I'm glad you trust them. It's especially when you make original characters from your own life, and then you have to leave that project. We get a little scared, if they can write the character the same. So I'm glad.
It's the
you trust
Marvel
them.
way, right? If Stan Lee was still writing Spider-Man nowadays, Spider-Man wouldn't be
Yeah. Totally.
the same. We need all those hands to evolve the character. That will happen to our characters too.
All right. If you weren't working on your current project, what currently anticipated game of any platform would you want to provide some input on?
Anticipated game.
Yes.
There was a game that just came out. Does that count?
Sure.
That was a little let down by that. I wish I could say something. There's a game called what's the name of the game? How they call it? Oh my god! It was a game that it's kind of like a Sin City game, but you, instead of building, you actually cleaning the environment, called Terra something.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name either.
Yeah, it came out recently. I had that idea years ago, but my idea was a bit more radical. It was a reverse Sin City. I wanted to do a game where you start with a really big city and you degrowth it. So you return it to pristine nature. So I wanted to make that game, and everybody that I pitched to, people was, nah, this is weird, So when finally that game came out, I thought that would be that game. I thought there would be a game. Terra Nil, yeah, thank you. So I thought it would be, that's the game I wanted to make. I want to play this, and it was nothing like I envisioned. Of course, it's different people making it, but the way they sold it, it felt like a very radical. Let's eradicate civilization and bring everything back to nature. It's more about building structures that will clean the rivers, clean the earth, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's doing really well, but my version would,
Hey,
because
maybe.
there was a story. There was a story behind it. There was like a really almost like radical movement to like destroy civilization. The whole eat the rich thing, you know what I mean? Like going to New York and make it back into a forest. That was a bit crazy, but anyway,
I'd be down for
that game.
All right. So Super Duper asks, is Warhammer 40K inspired anything from Kinship's visuals, etc.?
No, I never played that game.
Really?
I have people that worked in it. I know people that worked in it. And I really like the little figurines. I love it. But I never actually played it. Is there anything that looks like from Kinship? Any elements that you?
Boo will have to share. I haven't played Warhammer too much. My brother has though.
There's so many stories about post-apocalyptic and future, and you know, every one of them can be slightly different. And I don't look at many things when I'm creating something, so I can clear my head.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we're gonna be original enough, and we like to be original enough that people won't say this is a copy of this and that, you know, because I really don't like to get too heavily inspired by one source. It's more like putting everything in the blender and see what comes out.
Mm-hmm. It just reminds me of you're talking about, you know, Kinship being you weren't looking at inspiration specifically, but there might be some similar cases. It just reminded me of Venompool. Obviously, you concepted Venompool, but he kind of existed in the comics beforehand. So
right.
Is that something you're looking at for Kinship, where you want to make sure you don't?
No, Venompool is like photography, right? It was invented at different times in different places of the world, without like a single source. It's just a good idea that a lot of people would think about. And I had a dream about it.
Yeah.
And I sent that concept to Marvel without checking. And they didn't know either, by the way.
Yeah.
They didn't know because it was so limited at the time. I think it only appeared a version of it in some alternate universe story. So it was original enough. But then after that, it kind of popped everywhere. I saw Deadpool's creator, Rob Liefeld, you know, drawing Venompool
in your style,
in the style of contest, right? So it kind of became. I think a lot of artists look at the internet and say Venompool, and then what comes first is probably contest, because it's a popular game. A lot of people repost it, so it becomes the ultimate version of the character. Now there's a toy, there's a statue that is super badass.
Yeah,
that
there's
I always
several
wanted to buy, but there's one that is like pop culture shock. That is like $2,500.
I have the small $40 one. I don't have the big one.
Yeah. I thought, like, when I left Kabam, they said, you know, we're gonna give you a parting gift. It's gonna be amazing. And I thought, oh, they're gonna give me one of those statues. I know it because I was always like subtly kind of telling people that I really wanted that. But they never gave me anything.
Aww.
I'm still waiting for my gift. If anyone from Kabam is listening, I want my gift.
Hey,
I don't want a Starbucks gift card.
I'll let Mike know. I'll tag him. I'll make sure. You know, it's funny.
They said they bought it. They bought the gift, and they waiting to meet with me or whatever. So I'm waiting.
Okay. So speaking of meeting with Kabam, actually, I forgot to bring this up, but the Kabam are planning this MCOC Summoner Summit here in October, where fans will kind of go to the HQ, and then they'll also have the Battle Realm tournament. Is that something you'll appear at, potentially?
No.
Okay.
I have nothing to do with Kabam.
Well, yeah, fair
anymore. I have good memories, but you know, it's their thing now. Maybe I'll do a parallel indie gathering for What If.
Yeah.
Just like right beside Kabam in a tiny food truck, and then we'll do something parallel to that.
That's funny. I was gonna ask you
Okay.
if you do that actually. If you would like go next door, get the renting room next door, and do it.
Yeah, just use the same thing. Do a tournament of a game that is not out yet.
So is there a timeline for Kinship?
Yeah, we're planning to do it in 2 years. We want to do it quicker, but it all depends on how much resources we can have. I don't think we believe in spending 5 years making a game. We will get bored. I think up to 2 years is a good cycle for a game of this size, which is not going to be massive, like a 50-hour experience. It's going to be at the right size that we think. But it all depends. If the Kickstarter gets all the stretch goals completed, then we'll have more money to hire more people, to get more content. We might be able to release things earlier, or even demos and stuff like that. So it all depends on resources. We know we can make this game with the team we have now, but between 5 and 10 people will be a great size team for us. But if we can hire more people to do extra things, to do more animation, more design, more even stuff like voices, original soundtrack, all of that it makes a difference in the game, and we want to do that. Thanks, Maximus.
Okay. So is that 2 years from now, or are you already into some of the 2 years?
We're saying 2025, but we're not putting too fine of a date in it because we don't know. Once we get the campaign will be about 45 days. After that, we know, like, okay, this is what we have. This is the resources. This is how we're gonna divvy up to make a meaningful game in that amount of time, and then we get a better sense of the date.
Okay.
I think 2 years is an estimation. It could be shorter with a bigger team. It could be a bit longer, but we don't want to go much longer than that.
That's fair.
Okay. Yeah. All
Contest took 8 months to make, but it was like a shell of the game that you play now. It was very basic. So there is a way to build a game that has all the elements in there and then add stuff to it. And that's the way we break down in the website that's going to come up, shows a little bit more on how we want to plan that.
All right, perfect. Jay, you got anything else?
No, that was it. I think my last question was just a personal question. Is what advice would you give to a creative director trying to make it in the industry?
Don't try to be a creative director. Start with something else. I think you need a creative director. No, I'm being completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, creative director is a sum of experiences. So I would learn a little bit of everything if you want to do games, right? Of course. I want to learn, like, you need to learn how to speak to every corner of the game team and understand where they come from, so you can have a proper vision of the whole thing. And to do that, you need experience in some of those areas. You need to, if you're an artist, you need to also dabble a little bit with design and talk the same language with them, especially because design and creative need to be one thing. But also, like, the soul of the game is the engineers. Without them, nothing gets done. And if you have engineers on your side, everything you dream of will be so much better. And when you have an engineer that is not on your side, it's going to be just the basic, or sometimes it's not going to be anything at all like you dreamed. So you need somebody to be on your side on the technical side. There's so many different people that, come from the game from different perspectives. So you need to have that experience first, and then you naturally grow into the role. I talked to a lot of people, even at Kabam, that wanted to become a creative director. coming from design, some came from art, and it's hard for me to even describe what it was the career path of a creative director, because it almost became organically to me. So that'll be the advice I'll give. Like, make as many games with doing as many different things at the same time, and then you understand the whole thing, and then you'll be ready for whatever it is, being a creative director. You cannot go to school for it, I believe.
Yeah.
You play as a creative director in projects in school, and then if you make indie games, you will be the de facto creative director. But nobody needs a creative director in a team of 5 people. Believe me, you need people that put their hands, in the dirt and do whatever is necessary to make the game complete. I am a creative director, but not a what if. I'm a lead. I'm leading the overall vision, but I have to do a lot of things that a lot of creative directors say, oh no, this is not, I don't know how to do this, or this is beneath me, or so you need to come from below so everybody respects your expertise as well.
I appreciate that.
So that'll be, and then you get there, they'll say Jay knows everything about games. He can carry a game, and he can deal with people. He can understand what good art means. He can understand what good design is. He plays games, but he also can talk to QA, and he can talk to live ops, or whatever it is, the other groups that make the game great. And then people say, hey, this guy can be our leader. Not saying that I deserve all of that. It's just like, for me, it was very, very organic, He's the Marvel guy. He knows everything about Marvel. So our director, he's an artist. He does concept. And then eventually somebody came to me. It was the executive producer. And she said, hey, your career path is kind of weird. You're all over the place. Do you want to be creative director of the game? Because you're already doing that job. You're already doing that. Everybody respects you as somebody to answer questions, to clear the direction of characters and story and stuff like that. So do you want that? And I was like, no, I don't. But I'll take it. Because if I don't do it, some asshole will come and get paid twice as much as I get paid to just sit there and play, the big boss. So I want to do it because I deserve it. I'm being here in the trenches with everybody. So, and I'll still be in the trenches. So that's who should be leading this game. If not me, somebody like me that is being here and understands what the game is and can talk to Marvel and all of that. So I took it so I can block other people that are less deserving, or career people that just jump to the company because of the success of Marvel. So that part of it, I think it helped Contest to stay true, because for the longest time, a few of us, just blocking people that are not deserving to be in the center of decision. And that sounds weird, but
no, that's the way to go.
We're running interference. Yeah. But even we had a great studio art director, Wilson, and he's amazing. And a lot of his job was actually stopping the bullshit from reaching the creative team. So he took a lot of shit in meetings to protect the purity of our products. And then when he left Kabam, it was a couple of years into Contest. They said so who's gonna be the new studio director? And we all raised our voices. Nobody. Just leave that thing open. Leave that. Nobody needs a studio director, not because he wasn't great. He was great, but whoever comes now will be either an artist that will give up doing art to be this miserable, representative of art in meetings, in boring meetings, and will stop doing art, which every artist hates. or it will be somebody that doesn't want to do art and is not really an artist, and is just a career guy that wants to, get a lot of money. So it's always the wrong answer. So we said, please don't put anybody in that. We'll get together and we all share the load. You know what I mean? The structure of game design sometimes is about, getting the right people in the right places, but also is a meritocracy, and it should be a meritocracy in the key areas. Otherwise, you have some really bad games being made. You don't have the creatives in power. You don't have people that understand the game in power. You have people that just want the limelight. And I've seen plenty of those. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're about ready to get out of here then, Jay. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. I appreciate you coming on for 2.5 hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the longest interview yet.
we always like to keep it long, have tons of content to engage with and chat, get topics off your mind.
Let's try for 3 hours next time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I think the last one was almost 3 hours.
Yeah, it was.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. I know. I think so. There's some. I think it was MCOC MCOC noob. He was suggesting that some of you guys would get together and do like a roundtable or a podcast or something that we all can, just talk about things, talk about the future game, and maybe I'll bring the team, and we can all discuss things and talk about cool shit. That'll be cool.
Yeah,
that would be super duper cool.
I was thinking, that'll be amazing, but like, how do you, herding YouTubers is like herding cats sometimes,
Yes, we know.
Getting everybody in the same room together or like in the same time together would be difficult, but not impossible, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try for it. I got a lot of things I'm planning, so I'm definitely here to support the game. And, Action Interviews will always have an open spot for people who want to come on, talk about the future of the game, have you on returning. We're here for it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. When the campaign comes, like that's the most critical time, between the pre-launch and the launch, to get as many people aware of it as possible. So I'll be eternally grateful if you guys can keep, drumming the interest, because people forget things, and so I'll give you more material. I'll give you links, so if you guys can share and talk about it, I'll be super happy, and we'll be super happy, the team.
Of course.
Absolutely, man. We'll keep beating that Kinship drum.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not Kabam game anymore. I'm What If Gabe now. So.
What if?
That's right. All right.
I was the only guy that didn't have a fake name for the longest time, right? Because people have Kabam something, you have to pick a fake name to protect your identity. But because I was already interacting with people with my own identity, I didn't get a fake name like Dragon or Bacon.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, Gabe. We appreciate your time. It's been almost 2 hours and 15 minutes. We really appreciate you and all of the information you've given us today.
Oh yeah, thanks for talking. Yeah, we'll get it done, and I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. And just don't post that press release yet. I'll let you know when. It's probably gonna be on Monday when we have the link, so we can get a good call to action along with it.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So people can click on something and do something about it, right? So that'll be cool. And I'll also share some other images and
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more concepts of the maps and stuff like that.
There's some, not a lot because we're still early on the process, but there's some interesting stuff.
Cool. Can't wait to see it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah.
Have a great night, great weekend.
You too.
Yeah,
thanks,
too,
Gabe.
dude.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, XN.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks everybody in chat for hanging out with us.
Much love, everyone.